Last time out, some drivers started off their first test of the season with a passing grade. Others got some knees work. And others, quite simply, will have to go back into the classroom. Tonight, the Collegiate iRacing League kicks back off for its second week of the NAPA Longland Corporation Formula College, as it's the Fun in the Sun 250 here on Green Flag. I'm Justin Prince alongside Marty Sakal and Dustin Ellis, our producer for this evening from iRacing's virtual Auto Club Speedway, also known as Fontana. Today, the drivers will look to go battling on the oval for 125 laps, as these drivers look to build off some of the success last week, Marty, and better yet, be able to zip pretty quickly around a very bumpy but also very quick Fontana.
This is an IndyCar classic track amongst fans that love the sport. Over 10 years ago, this 2-mile D-shaped oval gave us one of the greatest IndyCar races of all time, you could say the least. It's a race where speed is key, drafting is key, and a lot of passing is absolutely key. If you can hang on in those packs, you can find yourself possibly in victory lane at the end of 125 laps.
And as you see with our schedule, it's very early, obviously, just the second week of classes, also known as our races, over the course of the season, with many different circuits to keep in mind, including Miami on the 12th. You have a driver vote race on the 19th, currently named as the Arch 175. You also have, tentatively, a date at St. Petersburg, depending on if iRacing does eventually get that track in the sim. A lot of different races over the course of the schedule. Oh, and don't forget, there is a full 500-mile race at the Brickyard, a part of the schedule at the end of this month. But these drivers, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a series that likes to go a little back and forth when it comes to this series. A little bit similar, you could say, at some portions of the IndyCar schedule. Bunch of different ovals, bunch of different street circuits, and a bunch of different road courses.
Was about to say on that note, last time out, it was Jake Cummings who actually got the victory when it came to the start of the season in California. That trip obviously continues this week. You also had Alex Hallinar in the second spot, the highest of the alumnus. Dylan Beatty crossed the line with a broken wheel and still finished on the podium. The rest of the drivers looking to play catch up. We have about 15 expected starters tonight, Marty. Not too big of a group, but it should provide some exciting racing with it expect to be a 3-stop.
I think with the pack racing Auto Club typically gives us here, Justin, I think some of the drivers are glad that this is a 15-car field, because whenever you get like a higher pack at these ovals in an IndyCar series where it's open wheels, it risks a lot of danger. So I think it's glad to see that. It could possibly help us get us a long run here throughout this race, and maybe even green flag pit stops.
Tonight's action, as mentioned, is brought to you by NAPA Longland Corp. Longland Corporation. For your car, truck, SUV, and heavy-duty needs, visit NAPA and get the NAPA know-how. Happy to have NAPA Longland Corp based out in Colorado with some of the locations a part of their support this season. Drivers are in the midst of qualifying right now. As mentioned, 15 drivers did attend in the sim. There was a 16th who registered but was supposed to be race control. But drivers like Garrett Greathouse are trying to put up their first laps. It's important to remember, as we follow along with the Kansas State-based driver, Marty, you can't afford to make a mistake at all in qualifying. In
Absolutely.
This series, there is a requirement of 2 clean laps.
Absolutely. It goes based off of your average speed across those 2 laps, a lot similar to Indy 500 qualifying. So it's not off your best lap you have. It's off of those 2 combined laps to see who will get on the pole position here this evening. And it's really key for drivers to use their tools in the race car, your weight jacker, your in-car adjustments, whatever you can do to get that car to steer a whole lot better in the corners throughout the course of the 2 laps will find themselves on the front row.
The Titanfall 2 speedrunner looking to try and see where they stack up the first time around was in the 33 flats. Keep in mind the best average, Matthew Monroe has it in the 32.8 if you're thinking about the exact timeage. Let's see where the 66 puts themselves. Wasn't the greatest of averages. The average goes in the 33.1, second slowest right above Ryan Arnold, Barrett Wolf, and Jarrett Godzinski. The only drivers not to set times, the 15 of Godzinski, is amongst those drivers who is in race control. So Barrett Wolf, the only competitor not to put together a clean time, as the final few moments of qualifying come to a close here, Marty. A lot of drivers looking to compare themselves speed-wise. A couple Canadians, mostly Americans, ready to zip around California in a few moments.
The open setup, and again, I mentioned it's a pack race. All these 15 drivers have a chance to win this race and prove themselves why they can make victory lane this evening.
Let's talk about that starting grid coming up here after the closing of qualifying. It is Ball State University's Matthew Monroe who will start on the pole. Nathaniel Fryman, also a Ball State driver, will start in second. Wyatt Burden from Tryon University starts in third, with Jake Cummings, last week's race winner from Converse University, working for the top four. Dylan Beatty will try and keep all the wheels on the car, as that will put 3 of 5 from Ball State up there. North Carolina State University's Aiden Ray will start in 6th today. 7th will go to St. Croix College's Logan McKim, with Alex Hallinar from Binghamton University in the 8th position. Rounding out your top 10, and our St. Clair driver, that is Adrian Dubakovic. Then you have Andrew Voigt from Penn State in the top 10, Marty.
6th row gives us Tyler Scoxton from Northwestern Ohio. To the outside from Oklahoma Panhandle State University, Brennan Lyman in the 78. The 7th row this evening will give us from KSU, Garrett Grayhouse. Next to him, Ryan Arnold out of Bryan College in the 88. And final driver on the grid this evening, I believe I mentioned it earlier, Ryan Arnold in the 88. Oh, excuse me, check that. That being Barrett Wolf in the 6th correction.
Yes. Wolf, the only driver not to take a time in this field. That is going to run today, at least. And drivers still have a few minutes of warm-up to be able to get ready to go here. Less than 5 minutes to be able to get themselves making sure the setups are right, making sure they work with their team members in the case of the color green, at least. Those are different schools. Or, better yet, be able to find a way to gel with your buddies. At least 6 of these drivers are working together, none of them from the same school, by the way, including Voigt, Wolf, Lyman, Cummings. You have Skolson and Burton, who are amongst those that are in the same alliance here tonight. How big will those allegiances be when it comes to an oval to plot and plan, knowing where the fuel stints are going to go?
It can be a situation, the final laps of the race, and you mentioned as well the fuel stints at the same time. If you've got a teammate like you do with that front row, both from Ball State, you want to make sure that you're pitting at the same time, because it's not about how you're finishing or how you're starting this race. It's all about making sure you're pitting with the front and pitting with the teammate, whether it be a classmate or an alum. It can definitely help out.
As they continue to work around McKim at the top of the board for the time being, as several of the drivers still make their way on out. Obviously, oval's a different discipline to last time when it came to the road course. Laguna Seca, obviously, with a lot of elevation change. How do you describe the discipline to be able to search for the clean air, especially knowing the aero wash when it comes to this car is drastic?
Absolutely, yeah. You can run in the draft as well to gain speed at the same time, but following tightly behind another car can significantly reduce fuel burn and carry a lot more speed in the corners. If you're in that draft and have a lot of speed going on in, it can definitely tighten your car up and send you up the hill. And you got to listen to that spotter very closely at the same time, whether you have a real-life spotter or the iRacing virtual spotter, to be aware of your surroundings.
You'll see a lot of these drivers search around as the night goes on. Here's a look at the UNOH-based driver. Right now, Scochin making sure to test where the proper lines are going to be. You can see that search we just talked about. Try and get cleaner on the nose. If you wash up the track, it's because likely you fall on behind 2 competitors. Just about a minute to go until these drivers get into the grading procedure, and then we get going here. Tonight, it's important to mention unlimited tire sets as well. So there is going to be a little bit more flexibility, Marty, when it comes to the strategy, because it's not confined to how many sets you have in the pits to box you in for potential stop windows. We may see a flurry of stops on a majority of these cautions to match up on the fuel stints.
Absolutely, yeah. A fuel run here, if they can make it onto a green flag run, it's about 34 at least. You can go up to a maximum of 38 laps before being forced to pit. But this is an abrasive surface. Keep in mind, this was the surface that was used before Auto Club demolished, to say the least. And tires for fresh Firestones will mean everything. You need as much grip as you can, and you want to reset it to 100% when a caution flag flies.
So as the drivers finish things up in the warm-up session, we get all set to go at a racetrack that is now, for the most part, warehouses. In real life, the front straightaway still exists, with a small hope that one day it will become a short track. One day. If not, it will become a warehouse. It makes for good pictures, though, for those who visit the platform and the track. But the drivers in the virtual world, because of that, do get a lot of use out of Fontana. We're about to make our way onto the grid for the 125 lapper. There's the iRacing blimp to show the progress in time. It will be in your midday race start for this session, by the way, which means your temperature's gonna be pretty warm, not too hot. 90 degrees the track temp, 78 the air temperature. So the air temp's up there, but the track temp not as high as it can be with it being a February start date.
Yeah, it won't be a very slick track as compared to what you would typically see during the summer. But remember, this place, it looks wide open here at the same time. But once the tires get used up, there may be some lift because the cars are going to have a lot of understeer going into the corners. This place rewards a lot more discipline more than aggressive.
So these drivers get themselves prepared, led by the finance and accounting major of Matthew Monroe here today for these Port Ricotti Skies. And yes, the drivers discussed a wide range of topics for whatever reason during the drivers' meeting, including will rain tires ever exist? How will this race affect LeBron James' legacy? And other very poignant questions. In other words, the focus is very much there for the drivers to just have fun tonight.
Well, you know, we are in Southern California. Justin, I think it's about maybe, 30, 60 minutes away from the LA Lakers. And, you know, it could be LeBron's final year. You just don't know.
I think they were half joking on trying to get him to make the command here tonight, but obviously he's kind of preoccupied, to say the very least, with the middle of basketball season.
I think so. But we're focused on this. Let me give you my keys to victory here as we get set to go green. Smooth, high-speed driving is critical. Full throttle, smooth steering and throttle inputs. Driving and racecraft are going to be huge. Plan the overtakes on the straightaways instead of in the corners. Fuel maps can save fuel from time to time, but it's better to save fuel by drafting. And finally, consistency and car balance over one lap speed. It's better to never lose speed nor slide through the corners than to attack too hard early and overheat the tires or run wide. Justin?
Just about all set to go for tonight's action. We're happy to have you with us for coverage of the NAPA Longland Corp Formula College as part of CIL competition. Ball State University well in control. 3 of the top 5 spots in their hands. The green flag is out. We're underway from Fontana.
And look at this, Justin. 4 wide. Not surprised to see it this early. We got one in the wall.
Hard
That was
push
Wolf.
up. Ray pushed up the racetrack, yes. So Ray with the contact, Logan McKim had clipped the apron. Now we have more cars scattered about the racetrack. That is Hallinar that was way loose. Already multiple drivers with problems, and all that chaos in the mid-pack. Burden getting side by side for the lead with Beatty is how things turn out at the end of lap 1. A crazy start in the mid-pack, but everybody else getting racy.
You know, cold tires can be a factor from time to time. It takes about a lap or 2 to get these tires up to temp, the pressures up to the way the drivers want them to be. And now because of it, you know, we're going to have pack racing. They had 4 wide early, drivers getting antsy. Instead, we're staying single file. Here's a look at what happened with Aiden here in the turns 1 and 2. Following there, nope, that was contact.
Yep, definite contact. Wheel to wheel pushes him up and destroys the front wing. And as expected, Ray did come down to get the wing replaced. Here's the look on board. Yep, that just crushed it. And he's lucky to not get have worse damage with contact to the right front.
Yeah, because with the Indy cars these days, if you destroy the right front like that, you're typically DNF'd and done for the race. It could still be the factor for Aiden. He's still stuck on pit road, either in the tow or making long repairs. We got a pass for the lead here. Beatty underneath on Cummings.
Going back and forth. Burden had initially led early, now getting shuffled, but Beatty immediately got the presence to take the lead into turn 1. Now seems to be one of the main forces. We might see a fair bit of swap draft here tonight here with the pole down the straightaways here too. It's not going to be as clear-cut to keep the lead, but there's also the chance for 3 wide. McKim, who was involved in that first incident and is under investigation, by the way, is trying to make the move.
Yeah, they're calling the investigation between the 3 and the 52 for the start there in turn number 1. We'll see how race control deems this, but right now McKim looking for a second, and Beatty just shuts the door right on. Now you got to be careful here. You cannot touch that apron one bit. Yes, this is a flat track. Looks very easy to go down low there and make a pass, but nope. Very slippery on that bottom side. You will spin if you touch it one bit.
Here comes the mechanical engineering technology major, Logan McKim, looking around the bottom of the racetrack. The Saints gaming
look
driver.
out.
Oh, trouble in the back of the field there. That was Barrett Wolf.
Just got a bit squirrely there off of turn 4. Luckily made the save, but he loses a ton of real estate and may fall out of the draft. Meanwhile, it's Beatty, McKim, and Fryman out in front, and McKim wants the lead.
Comes the pole, trying to make the slide into 3. There goes McKim up to the point. That puts Fryman to second with the move as well with the result of the pole. So all of a sudden, we've had a lot of different leaders pop up here. 4 have already led laps so far tonight. Take a look board with Lyman. And a lot of these drivers getting shuffled because there's about to be another one. Drive-through penalty. Car 3, black flag issue.
Yep, they called it avoidable contact there at the start on the drive-through. So he'll lose the lead, and that's not the penalty you want right out of the gate early, especially if you get a long run and going into penalties and have pit stops. McKim's going to be in big trouble early here, and I don't know if... Oh, he's lost it! That's going to be it for him.
Logan McKim destroys the whole front end, and I believe picked up speeding too. So things continue to spiral. For those who watched the sports car race last week, if you're a Secor Saints car, you were likely in the barrier in our car. Guess what? In the barrier, the trends continue.
Yeah, just look at the right front, just locked it up. Nothing he could do about that. It just went from a bad dream to a night terror for Logan McKim.
Gonna go back up to the point all of a sudden, by the way. So, don't look now, that is an Secor college car. So just like that, another shuffle as Beatty elects to go in the line. We've already just about gotten about 10 laps for the action. Lyman's also in this lead group, also with Fryman. And a lot of these drivers may play that bottom of the racetrack like this, try and defend, to take away an opportunity to get to the inside, as we've seen how advantageous it is to go inside turn 3.
And I feel like that'll be the place to be late in the race at the bottom. You want to defend it. It's the shorter way around the racetrack. Let the drivers work for it on the outside. You saw near contact between Beatty and Tubakovic. The 20 just trying for that side draft up there off at turn number 1, but passing in the corners here is risky. But the slingshot, though, easily works here at Auto Club Speedway. Kind of reminds you of the Indy 500s with the DW12 package that the sport had for like 6 years or so.
The shuffling continues on. Still been seeing that 78, by the way. That is Brennan Lyman, who runs multiple different series when it comes to CIL competition there. Keeping an eye on that 78, who's the first on the high line here at the moment. From Oklahoma Panhandle State University. Works with horses in his spare time over the weekends. He's one of the drivers looking to giddy up and go with the agribusiness major. But at this point, the Ball State machines seem to be in a really good rhythm. 2 of the 3 Ball State University-based drivers are still up towards the front to start this one off.
They feel pretty comfortable getting in a rhythm now, but Look out closely for Andrew Voigt here in that 009 on the bottom. Bunch of drivers that started 10th or beyond have already climbed their way up to the top 5. 3 of the drivers in the top 5 here, Justin, up at least 6 spots. Tubakovic up 8, Voigt up 6, and Lyman up 7.
Kind of showcases with the way the series goes at the very least. You can pick up spots quickly. It is a smaller grid size, and as we've seen, some of the drivers weren't as comfortable on the colder tires compared to those who are now flying and controlling things. But the harder this run and the longer this run goes, Marty, the harder it is going to be able to pass around here. So a lot of these drivers are going to start to have some difficulty to make the moves they'll be making in the next couple laps.
Absolutely. You know, the drivers are in this really good rhythm, but, you know, near contact again between the front two. We're in a situation here where if we do get to that first run of green flag pit stops, this is going to divide this. This is going to divide this train up and divide this pack up all around, where you have less packs and could be tough to pass without having some help.
All these drivers still chasing behind. Oh, what did you just see?
Voigt and Lyman nearly touching for 4th. I swear, the contact with Indycars here, Justin, it just gets so tight off these corners, because one touch and you're in big trouble.
So Voigt able to survive for that moment. Voigt, financing county major, able to keep things chugging along as now they shuffle to the outside for now. So as we continue to work on, let's take a look at this contact that you're mentioning. Cummings pushed up at least 2 lanes. Look at that.
Yeah, I think he just got on the throttle a little bit too early while trying to follow the draft, and it pushed his car just a little bit up the hill. And here comes the Nittany Lion, Voigt, putting Happy Valley on his back in P2. Beatty, though, with the crisscross off of 4.
Beatty able to push up another spot, brings Fryman with him yet again on the aggression. Lyman outside. Gonna wrap around the top and make some more moves. Looks like he's opening up a bit of grooves for some of the drivers. Here's a look at Barrett Wolf. He's one of the UNLV drivers. We were talking about him a little bit before today's race, popping up in the sessions. Looks like he's amongst those just saying, just let me ride the top, keep the clean air, minimize the amount of turning the wheel also with that line.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch the steering wheel here in the turns 1 and 2 if he stays up top and avoids the clean air. Just look at how smooth this is. That's definitely helping him out one bit. It's nothing that's too jerky. You don't see him lifting one bit from the draft. He's keeping her locked down in that clean air full throttle.
For Wolf, by the way, he is a marketing major, also has experience with Formula Regional Americas competition. That is going to help him a fair bit here for today. As Tribakova continues to hold on to the race lead, Fryman gets the pole up. That inside line continues to see speeds of 230 miles an hour. The front of the field is in the 220s at the very max. Some massive differences with the pole here, with this package here, especially if you're able to get yourself lined up just right to make these passes.
Yeah, it could be a sneak peek possibly of late in the go, and obviously you're focused on how your car is right now, but if you're in it to win it, could possibly help you set yourself up for a big tow at the end, trying to get a draft and hit 230 and try and make a slingshot outside or inside.
Almost about, if not already, at the halfway point of the fuel run, by the way, for these competitors. The estimate was around 38-39 was what some had said coming into today. Those stops, the longer you need in terms of fuel tank, the longer, obviously, you are in the box, which means about 9-10 seconds estimated to be able to fill up your car. If you don't need as much fuel, you can save as much as 2 seconds. That'll be something to watch for later on. And I have to wonder what the fuel consumption is going to be like for some of these drivers that might be saving a little bit further back to extend the window a little bit, Marty, compared to those at the front that are push, push, push.
Yeah, you know, when it comes to the saving right now, the man that's in the weaker spot right now is Tubakovic, because he's going full throttle here, but you see a little bit on the telemetry, doing some sort of lifting, trying to help on the economy side, but for those that are in the draft, they've got a chance to lift. At the moment. as per maybe what fuel maps that drivers are using, I think they're most likely, they got to be on the rich mode right now at the moment. Maybe some are in the back possibly using a leaner mode on fuel, but right now at the moment, a lot of these drivers up near the front, it's push, push, push.
All these drivers continuing to get to work in trying to figure out where to go and where to battle around this track. So as we continue on, the 2x2 is forming up. No one outside of Ray. Those running have lost the pack, by the way. So no one has gotten to the point of separation. In some of the major series I've gotten the chance to call, Marty, this is around the point where you've seen the packs boost away because people adjust with the weight jacker, they find the speed, and some of them boost away with teamwork.
Indeed, Justin.
That's been different here today.
Right, yeah. I know you've called like the classic Indycar series, the Lionheart series in the past. And, you know, I do a lot more of the NASCAR and the dirt side myself. But on the NASCAR side, whenever we're calling like a race at Daytona or Talladega, it's typical that we're losing a bunch of drivers. We have two separate packs by now. But, no, I wonder if it has to do maybe with the lesser car count we have at the moment. And, you know, you can have a much bigger gap to try and get a draft off the car in front with the way the aerodynamics are built off these Dallara IR18 chassis. But very impressive start here. You know, give credit to guys like Burton, Hallinar, Skoxton. They haven't fallen out yet, just trying to get a feel for their car out in the dirty air.
Remember what this series
watching Hallinar here going down the back, just still getting that feel. At the moment, though, looking back up near the front, Tubakovic up on Lyman by a tenth of a second. A little bit tight off for turn number 4. He's got a little bit of a draft. Now, Tubakovic here, Justin, is doing something that we may see late in the go when he's trying to break that draft, but it's trying to be like a snake, basically. But it's kind of risky to be a snake on the final lap. Yes, it's one way to defend. However, though, on the driver behind them, they could easily get a slipstream because they're steering a lot more compared to the other driver in front. We saw that how like Newgarden won the 500 a couple years ago over Pato. Got some internet activity meanwhile mid-pack. I think it's Ryan Arnold that was just blinking a little bit here, but still riding on board here with Lyman. Look for the aerial shot. This is the race on track here for 7th. Actually, check that for 6th. Arnold with a run off at turn number 2. A good job by the 88 to play some defense pretty well. And hang on to that 6th spot for right now. But Fryman allowing Cummings to get past here in that 95. 7th spot is his. A lot of drivers just getting a feel for how their cars can be against drivers in front or behind them. A lot of the battling side by side happening here mid-pack. We are, meanwhile, about 10 laps or so away from pit strategy. Let's talk a little bit about that while we are at it. Number 1, green flag pit strategy. You never want to pit alone because a solo outlap, basically a death sentence here. No draft, no speed. Watch out for the Ball State teammates because teams pit in packs basically on purpose. And finally, short pitting, like these drivers in the back could possibly try to risk doing, it only works if you rejoin traffic. Fresh tires, they don't matter if you're by yourself. So that's number 1. We could see maybe cautions being a factor. We talked about tires earlier on and how they matter, but not really how fans expect them. Fresh tires, they're worth a little, but not a lot. The real advantage in this race is basically confidence in dirty air and not raw lap time. And then a slightly older tire in the right lane can beat a fresh tire here in bad air. Aiden Ray's one of those drivers, meanwhile, that's about to get a lap down. This has been a huge issue. This has been one of the big cons, to say the least, of not being in the draft. It's about to become the first, about to go now 4 laps down in particular, with Tubakovic approaching him. Justin?
Indeed, apologies there for the blip as
you're good, man.
Yes, indeed. Software, I think, decided to break at that moment. So outside of that, I was trying to say before the thought process here, I'm not sure if you picked this up too, the fuel save is on for some of these drivers here as they try and push the windows. Because here's the thing, if you were to go, say, 40-40-40, Marty, you're within 5 laps to go at the end of the race. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is likely going to be a 4-stop race. I would have to project for these drivers. We got a battle for the lead here. Lyman off for 4. That's a risky block by Lubakovic. Now, I don't know if blocking, meanwhile, is something that can be reviewable or not, but on the ovals here, it's a lot more risky. Oh, that was a lap car correction. It can be a lot more risky than, say, on a street course or a road course.
Lap traffic not playing things easily here. Obviously, Ray, multiple laps down. No shot, really, unless there's multiple cautions to get back into it, maybe. So just testing to see what they have. The speed difference in the pack was at least 4 or 5 miles an hour before getting reeled on in here by the leaders, by the way. Some of the errors, by the way, in this queue. Lyman, Voigt, Wolf. Ryan Arnold quietly running up in the top group as well, just about. Is up to +9 still and is with this holdup joining in. Here's the current stint length. There's the estimated expected stint max here today without the save. The point I was trying to make, though, Marty, is if you can squeak out an extra couple laps per stint, there is a small chance you might be able to try and eliminate a stop and be on fumes at the end.
Risky 3 wide here for a second. What is it that they say in F1, in the F1 movie? Plan C for combat. If you can gain a tenth a second, a tenth a lap from not just driving in a corner, how you drive or how you lift, or on a pit stop or on pit road entry or exit, that could be a full second. That could be a huge difference between winning a race and finishing second in the end.
Right now, lap traffic is playing a huge factor because guess what? The leader's broken the draft. More than 1 second up is Kubakovac from this 3 wide, still as they try and scatter around Ray. Lyman gets clear. Now Cummings trying to push, and the 52 is deep, and there goes contact. Into the barrier goes Arnold. Arnold rides the wall. A slam for Greathouse, and we're under caution.
Yeah, Aiden Ray caught the apron there. I believe it was the first to get sideways. And a lot of drivers, unfortunately, not going to be too pleased with the way Ray was holding up the drivers from second on back. Tubakovic, well, he's in a different side of things. He'll lose about a 1-2 second lead or so, but I talked about it earlier. Someone caught the apron. It was with the contact between Ray and Wolf. Watch the 52 here on the bottom. Yep, there's that slight touch. Up the hill he goes into the 6, and man, oh man, what a lick that was. Into the safer barrier for Ryan Arnold, I believe that was. Nope, check. Yeah, it was Ryan.
So there goes that fuel strategy conversation. This is definitely now going to be a multiple stopper, 3 stops. And that obviously getting looked at by race control. There is an investigation underway with Ray. As a result of that contact, his second incident this race. 1 against, possibly 1 for.
Yeah, this is the onboard here with the 6. At that point, once you're dealing with that contact, you're just hanging on for eternity.
3 different drivers out. And disqualification coming up for the 52 since he was a lap down, Marty.
Yeah, that may be that's probably the appropriate decision in this deal here, because if you're Aiden, it's probably more of a better idea to let the rest of the drivers go past that are on the lead lap instead of risking yourself taking out not just you but also other cars that were in contention to win this race. Well, here we go. No surprise, everybody down pit road here for their first stop of the race.
This puts it to where, do the math, final stops would be around 10-15 laps to go if it goes green after this point. It'll be the first one up to Kovac. Actually got a slow roll out of the box, side by side for the lead. Contact! Lyman hit the side pod of the 38. It is Tubakovic who does get the edge. but it's Cummings who is ahead of both of them anyway.
Yeah, great stop from Cummings there on the exit. I think what happened, that slow roller may not have shifted down to first gear where you want to be on pit exit. The higher the gear, you know, the slower acceleration you're going to get. So
the field now gets reset. We are down to 10 cars remaining. Here's a look at the race and what turns out for second. Yeah, that was definitely not phased through contact. That was absolute contact.
yeah, that was risky there for Lyman, I believe it was, to nearly damage the left front wing. Could be pivotal when it comes to aero. I mean, it's possibly how both Tubakovic and Lyman, if they're hearing from their spotters or crew chiefs, if they got any damage. This is from behind. Look at that.
So just like that, set up for a restart situation. And the field gets all set to go. Jake Cummings has a lot of racing experience, and as a master's student with Converse, trying to study in professional leadership, he is the GM for Tech Sport Racing in its sim unit. He also has gotten opportunities with track days, including this spring, going to be a part of their GR Cup program, trying to get a test out there. Experience as well in PRI Sim Racing Arena, which is basically the invitational races for some of the competitors there. Lots of experience when it comes to Cummings, who has appeared in a lot of big leagues, but right now he's going to have to play some defense for a little while because he's got Tubakovic and Lyman right on behind for the restart. Voigt and Beatty are in your top 5. Your thoughts for the restart as the field gets some instructions from race control.
Well, it's going to be single file here. If I'm Tubakovic, am I going to try and set the move up here possibly into turn number 1 and get the toe? Or how do you deal with this if you're Lyman? Do you break the draft if you're Cummings here coming back to green? And then my final thing is, how will these tires be? Remember, they're going to be cold here. Coming to this green flag, they won't be up to temp. And so you got to be very careful driving through the corners.
Cool down room is already bursting at the seams, by the way, for the competitors. That's how things have turned out so far in the early going, but we're coming up to 88 laps to go. Off and away is Cummings, right at the drop of the pace car. And that jump secures the lead for now. But wait for the draft build-up. Looks like some big separation after the top 3 or so. Already almost a full second, some of these gaps.
Yeah, it's not the deal with Beatty and Voigt they wanted to be in. Beatty made the pass, and that definitely helped out Lyman, Tubakovic, and Cummings really pull away. And here goes the 38 for the race lead.
So the pole, as expected, gives the 38 the race lead. Here comes Cummings up the outside. Going to try and take it back and set up the draft affair. Swap draft, if you will, to continue to try and change things up. Not going to work out yet as Cummings tries to reset. Remember, we've seen second place in the run after a bit save a lot of fuel last time. Not going to happen early on, knowing the fuel game. Lyman and the popcorn seat as the leaders keep it up with the seams.
Yeah, this is allowing Lyman in that number 78 to pull in. Now, who do you follow here possibly going down the front? You doesn't want to steer it, doesn't want to have a setup here into turn number 3 where he could lose control of the car, so he'll keep it tucked right behind Cummings in that number 95. Behind them, it's wild from 4th on back here. Voigt, Beatty, Skoxon, and Monroe here, Justin.
Yeah, a lot of the drivers in the back of the field still squabbling out and sorting out where exactly they want to be here. This goes in. Working the outside right about the 3rd seam. Watch for if there's enough pull from the outer groove. Has Beatty to pull off of. Not going to work. For whatever reason, the inside line has been the line for a majority of the way. It's been so difficult to actually get some of these runs actually built up with this pack to be able to claw your way ahead. It's now getting harder and harder for some of the drivers to get track position, as you see with the Snake.
Yeah, it seems like this is going to be the name of the game here within these final 85 laps here or so. You really want to be up near the front. If you're up in the back, a guy like Fryman, a guy like Hallinar, You could be in trouble here. There's a pass from Voigt for third. I think it just really needed to take a lot of speed, a couple laps for the drivers to really get back into it. Because when you get into like a restart, when it's all single file, everyone's gonna be scattered around. Now they're all just about in a pack, and now the racing's gonna get intense here.
How intense they want to be is up to how they want to race, essentially. Voigt able to take up the second spot now. 83 laps to go, still early on here on Green Flag TV for tonight's coverage of the CIL. As here comes Lyman up the outer groove, trying to run up against the wall again. Trying to make sure he keeps clean air on the front end. Again, working well with the motions there. It's not working out to be able to complete the passes, though, here today. What's kind of the thought process if you're at the back of this group at this point now, though, Marty? Because if you're talking about some of the others down that pylon, Fryman, Burton, Hallinar, they haven't been able to really test the waters to see what's been going on with these cars you've been following along with on screen.
I think they like where they are right now, based off the fact that we haven't really seen them make any passes near the front. I think if you're a guy like Hallinar, who's actually, as we say that, looking underneath for 7th on Scoxon, just try and be patient here. You know, I'm actually one that's raced with Alex in the past and other pack races, like in street stocks, for example. He's a guy like me who will stay patient in these races where it's just one completely single stage like this race, and then make your way up towards the front when you're inside, like the final 50, 75 laps of a race if you're on the lead lap.
Yeah, at this point, we've seen some of the drivers willing to play the aggressive game. Others are playing the strategy game over the course of this run.
The lead?
Yep, indeed. Voigt going to the outside again. Doesn't look like it's going to happen yet, though. Yet again, Tubakovic continues to protect the inside and protects any chances of runs. It's just not working to wrap the high side for the passes today. Even with the boost, with a couple miles an hour difference, it dies off right about here.
I like, though, Voigt's strategy here, trying to diamond the corners here. Hope that Tubakovic maybe gets tied up on corner exit and tries to make a move. Now if it's the final lap, then we all know that Tubakovic would either be driving like a snake or he'd be hugging that white line one bit. If he leaves any opening, then Voigt would try and pounce there on the bottom, but long race left to go. Voigt's not going to get too aggressive. He's just trying to get a feel for what the outside's going to be like for a while and see if he's maybe more comfortable in that late in the going compared to maybe other drivers that are up there.
We'll see as the night goes on how willing some of these drivers get here to push the excitement level. Outside, Voigt. Nothing. Still can't get it to work. By the way, Dylan Beatty also wants those who are getting the outside to work. That's the thing. You can make a pass in the outside with the aero wash coming into play. It's just the difficulty of making the pass for the lead. That's the difference where with the clean air, you're able to make the rotation work around the bottom of the circuit. Drivers like Beatty have noticed have been able to use a squeeze to make the moves. Here's a look at the back of the main group. Fryman, yet again.
Yeah, you see the lift right there, going to turn number 3. And again, this is one of the drivers that's been hanging out in the back of the field. Doesn't want to get too risky, doesn't want to get too close to Wyatt Burton in that number 26. He wants to make sure he is up there at the end, saving his stuff for when it's time to push.
Seeing that really fly around for the 23 machine.
Voigt staying side by side, meanwhile, with Tubakovic off at turn 2, Justin. This is the best he's looked on corner X on the high side in a while.
Yeah, might clear and will clear, actually. Finally got the move.
Yep.
Got it close there for the cross.
Yeah, I think Tubakovic just let him go there. It was just way too risky to try and stay on the bottom or else damage the front wing. So now Tubakovic just has to get back in a rhythm here and just hang on. Now we'll see what his car looks like at dirty air. There's a block. Close call there for the leader.
Tubakovic still running his preferred groove. Voigt, he's now using the squeezes I was just talking about for some of the drivers in the dirty air from before. Here's a look how close it was last time. There's the aero push.
Yeah, just forced him up the groove. Now watch this closely because Cummings is closed in here. Tubakovic, meanwhile, got the lead. If we see a pass on the high side, Who will Cummings go with in third is now the question.
That's the huge mark on if Cummings is able to get enough for the run once again for the point. But once again, the St. Clair College driver, Tubakovic, getting the chance to build up the boost for now. He's been good on the long run here today. We're already about 15, 16 laps in the run since drivers pit under the caution flag. So as we're quickly approaching the halfway point in this one, there's the heart of the field yet again. Mentioned Beatty making some passes. He's been stuck in fifth since then. Hasn't been able to get back around Lyman or any of the other cars yet. Still searching to try and find a little bit of air in the corners.
Yeah, Beatty, we've seen most of him throughout the race, running up near the front of the field, but now stuck in fifth. I don't know if he may be comfortable being in this spot right now or not. It's just lying in the front of the field, race amongst themselves. Don't know if when the top two have been side by side, if they're using their tires a lot more often than the other drivers or not. We'll just have to wait and see. I think it's just a long race in this one. Like I mentioned, I know it sounds like Groundhog Day here. It's a long race. There's 10 cars left in this race. Just get a feel. Don't do anything ridiculous. You're going to have a good shot to win it if you keep your car up there in the end.
And that's the main thought for a lot of these drivers here, especially since we've already had a third of the field destroyed with attrition here tonight, or with disqualification in terms of one case. But everyone's still pacing themselves around halfway to the fuel stints here in this one as they continue to work around. A lot of the drivers, notice though, share the nature of being focused on one point or another on marketing. How would you describe the marketing impact you learned when it came to schooling and how much you learned when you were in college?
Yeah, so my majors were on the journalism and broadcasting side of things. So I actually didn't really learn too much of the public relations side. I really learned a lot more of ethics and producing broadcasts. But the marketing side is really obviously a huge deal in racing because motorsports, you see, I think in my opinion, you see more advertising in motorsports than in any other type of sporting event, in my opinion, whether it be the NFL with the TV timeouts, the NHL with the dasher boards, MLB with all their advertisements around the stadiums, and just a whole lot more. Now, race cars, I know they say it. Yeah, yes, it's walking billboards. Yes, it helps. But in sponsorship, a lot more eyeballs are on this to tell people about your product. It's very important, and it's the best form of sponsorship and advertising, in my opinion, out there.
You see a lot of these drivers tonight have that focus here in motorsports or in general. We talked about a couple of the majors already here. We also have a lot of finance majors. Of course, we know how big finance is to be able to move up. Monroe, who started off the season in 6th position when it came to last time out, right now riding along and trying to pick up points. As mentioned, Cummings was the points leader coming in over Hallinar and Beatty. And so far, of those names, really, only one of them in the top 3. Of course, 2 of the 3 now in the top 5 with Beatty in the 5th position. There is some potential of shakeup here in the standings with a lot of the drivers that need to pick up a lot of ground from last time, like Voigt, for example, who was dead last in the points after last week. That's going to have to be changed here with a run like this. You can see he's losing ground, though, as the outside is taken and 2nd and 3rd swap.
I think with how many cars we've got DNF'd in this race, Justin, I think that will change without question. But yeah, this is just a bounce back race for Voigt. You just shake off the early gremlins here on the season. But now with all the drivers here racing for 2nd, Tubakovic put his gap up to 0.7 of a second. One of the bigger gaps that we've seen in this race. But how will the rest of this draft form up on Tubakovic now is what I'm wondering here.
Remember last time, after they reached the lap traffic, the gap grew up to more than a second by this point. Tubakovic in particular was able to build it up to 1.2 seconds. Then the crash happened and everyone bundled back up. But remember, a lot of these drivers have to think for the first time tonight in about 10, or rather 15 so laps here, pit stop under green, and we've already seen the one time anyone pit under green went to a crash.
Yeah, you know, I talked about a lot of it before the crash happened while you were away fixing your gremlins. Green flag pit strategy is obviously going to be huge because you don't want to pit alone. That's going to help out the Ball State drivers perhaps. Tires matter, but not a lot though, because the real advantage is being confident in the dirty air. Pit entry and exit discipline. I've yet to talk about in this race too, Justin. We saw the factors with pit entry. Look at Logan McKim when he was starting to serve his speeding penalty, cooked the brakes up. His race was done after he hit the attenuator. Pit road speed matters, though, more than usual because small mistakes can cost you the pack. An excellent pit road clean will be everything because if you miss the merge and lose the draft, your whole strategy collapses. You can lose a race here, Justin, basically on pit road, even before the tires even get up to temp.
A lot of these drivers are going to have to be careful about that here tonight as you see the speed differences. Someone tries to close up the pack right now. Last time by, you're a tenth and a half quicker for Cummings on the charge up to gain up to your race leader. 63 laps to go. We're just about in now at the halfway point for tonight's action. Remember, tonight's race brought to you by NAPA Longland Corp, the Longland Corporation. For your car, truck, SUV, and heavy-duty needs, visit NAPA. Give NAPA know-how. And right now, the drivers are definitely showing the know-how here in the front of the Sun 250. Cross flags that time by at the stripe. And the battle for second stays intense. Lyman over Cummings now as Voigt tries to gain up as well. Everybody playing the strategy cards though on this outside line. No one willing to swap drafts anymore with the older tires. Just trying to save a little bit of gas.
Yeah, you want to make it to this next pit stop here at the moment, and this could determine who we'll see as the contenders for this race victory, perhaps. Yes, there is a lot of racing with over 60 laps to go. Just going to be about over 50 when we get back into this race. When the pit stops, I should say, correction, are finished up here.
Indeed. Right now you see where the time again goes back to the leader now as they go. Majority of this field is willing to use only the bottom of the racetrack. It's not as simple as just spread out, try and search on the high line like earlier some of the drivers were doing. Field preferring to wrap that inside groove and try to go the shorter distance around here as we're about 30 laps into the run this time through. Leaders taking off. It's almost a full second breakaway. And at this point, the St. Croix College driver, your favorite, with the speed here at the end of the runs.
Yeah, because Lyman's losing this draft. It's not going to look too good for him. Tubakovic's going to be in a really comfortable spot where at this point for the leader, all the pressure you could say is on his shoulders for this next pit stop, all depending on when he pits. Now, depending on when he pits, is anyone going to go with him? Or will they see him go in and then everyone will stay out possibly? We'll just have to see. I don't know but in my opinion here, Justin, Tubakovic looks like he's the best car on track.
He's just flying with the way things are going. The gap is closing back up a little bit again, but it's so difficult to keep up with the 38 by the time we get to lap 22 to 25-ish onward. It's taken a lot of luck and speed to close up after that point. And it looks like with some adjustments here with the weight jacker, Lyman's found a little bit extra speed here to keep up with the pole. It's gone back within the 4 or 5 tenths near breakaway.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, Justin. My keys to victory: using your tools going to be very important. Weight jacker adjustments, they can help balance that car a lot better, reducing that understeer. Maybe he planned this out in practice, possibly reacting to the dirty air affecting the handling or the tire wear too at the same time. These subtle in-car tweaks here can definitely make the difference.
We're seeing these drivers continue to adjust their game plans here, especially knowing it's become a conga line. Built this entire pack here It's now stretching as far back as 2 seconds away from the leader, by the way. Back to Nathaniel Fryman. Things obviously about to change with pit stops on the forefront coming up. Looking at your leader once again. Obviously, these drivers with this approach going to have some difficulties, as we touched upon, but right now this 38 machine has the benefit of the clean air. Wondering what the tire wear is going to look like for some of these drivers here when they put on fresh Firestones, and how big that difference is going to be once we get these drivers out of the pit stalls and onto the track.
Yeah, when they come out here on pit road too, Justin, it really won't be too much of a concern, except for on the out lap, just making sure that you don't risk losing control of that car because of the cold tires. Once again, that's going to be very important here. Make sure you get those tires up to temp once you come out. The track will still be fast. There's a lot of rubber into this racetrack, so the drivers will. It's not a green track here at the moment compared to how it was the drop where we saw a bunch of drivers get really sideways.
Should see a lot of these drivers try and keep things as steady as possible for this entry. I know the estimates would be, if it stays green, drivers would then have that final stop by about 10 laps to go and a quick splash to be able to get themselves to the very end. Lyman still keeping as the bridge car for the rest of the pack, by the way. He's almost broken the draft himself here, keeping up with the leader. 78's looked pretty solid all night, Marty, but he's really been able to dial it in with the straight line to gap everybody else.
Would love to see the onboard here from Lyman, what he's doing, what's working for him in the corners and the straights here at the same time. This is the iCam here off of Lyman. Look how his corner steering is a lot smooth here at the moment. And then he's just following the 38, nothing too jerky that we're seeing. He's got a tight grip on his steering wheel that he has at home. And yeah, he's just working it very better here in the long run compared to Tumakovic. And the leader is coming in down pair. Oh no! Oh no!
A slam into the barrier, and just like that, both the St. Croix College cars, when having to pit, have crashed into the barrier.
Deja vu strikes in California again. Perhaps the best car is not going to win this one tonight.
Huge mistake. See if there's any extended time for repairs. It was all on the right rear. No one else is ducked in. Here's the replay as he missed the commitment cone too. That's a black flag, obviously.
I wonder if a lot more drivers, I wonder how many of them practiced their pit road speed limiter, their pit road entry in particular, because that's obviously the second driver that's crashed into the attenuator, both being the St. Clair cars. I don't know if it's something that they forgot to practice or not, but they have just thrown this race away, basically. Now, who is going to be the first one to pit, and how will they slow down here? Because you don't want to slow down too early, but you also want to make sure you're signaling to your drivers, getting on that voice chat and saying that you're pitting in, just so everyone behind them is aware, so that there is no big cluster of cars involved in a huge wreck in turn 4 because someone didn't say they were pitting in.
Communication's going to definitely be key here for these entries coming up. 50 laps to go this time through. And Tumakovic, by the way, having a very extended stop, by the way. Still not yet to come in. Look at this. Hallinar, who was in the back much of this run, has just taken the lead.
I mentioned earlier on in this race too, Justin, Hallinar is one of those drivers. He likes to be patient. And then once you get around 50 to go or so, this is when he starts to cook. And he's trying to get that bottom side to work here. But I think at the same time, too, he just wanted to get a feel what his car looks like in clean air. And Hallinar, you see, he's all the way back to 4th. I wonder if he's going to pit here.
Doesn't look like it yet. 40 laps coming to 41 this time. And the longer they go, the more you have to think, will it become a fuel strategy race with some of the drivers really trying to back off on the runs compared to earlier? See when the pit calls come in. It really depends on when they start ringing. Remember, that race leader had been in the clean air just about the entire race, hence why they came on in and were not looking like they're on conserve mode.
Yeah,
Lyman.
Justin, you just stole the words right out of my mouth there. Absolutely was the situation because he could stay in. He was still in the clean air. The foot was all the way down on the throttle at 100%. No fuel saving one bit on that run for him. Everyone else behind, basically on an economy run. Now for that final stop, and I'm hearing Halinar may be pitting this time by, and more drivers are coming. The leader's going to come in. Let's watch. Hold the thought here, Justin. Let's watch the entries.
Here we go, pit stop time. A lot of communication, and here we go. Way early, Lyman on the gas, and Voigt's crashing.
Oh.
Voigt into the wall. No caution yet, and Voigt is destroyed.
Yeah, that's not going to be a yellow flag with him spinning in the back of the field, but Voigt's race is done. The right front, it's just absolutely demolished. He needs to put this car to a stop, or else this could bring out a further yellow. This car's not even going to turn one bit. Watch this.
Yep, there it goes. And we've got Jake Cummings crashing a pit stop. So Cummings has not made the pit stall either. Lyman, I think, is one of the few that had a clean run to the pit road. And we still have 5 yet to peel down.
Yeah, it's one of those strange what happened deals for Jake Cummings here. Watch this. I wonder if he got a little bit too heavy on the brakes. I think so. The back end came out. I wonder if he was braking while steering. We'll love to get a great look from on board to see what in the world happened if we do get that. Can tell you too, Andrew Voigt made it back to the pits.
Voigt in the pits. A lot of drivers communicating. Will they back up to each other? Here's Cummings trying to enter his pit stall. Then, bye-bye.
Yep, you could hear the rear brakes just lock up. Yeah, they could do. No damage though, but a lot of speed loss. He won't have the draft at all. Here we go, second round, baby. I thought he was about to clip another car there.
Yeah, that was a little bit more close for comfort for this field. 45 to go. They went 46 on the run. Is it possible we see some drivers able to make it to the end? This is going to be close.
This is going to be a fuel mileage race. I think right now at this point here, Justin, you don't want to be first here if this is going to be a fuel mileage race to the end.
Oh, we've had another one destroy their wing. Matthew Monroe, he hit the back end of a car entering pit road, and it was Nathaniel Fryman he crashed into.
Yeah, just too much of a shallow entry for Fryman. And it just completely messed him up.
Up front, Lyman. You know how much time some of the drivers lost? They are actually going to have the drivers better on the mileage take the lead. Lyman with the undercut. Didn't really get anywhere. Lost ground to Beatty and Wyatt Burton. We haven't talked about Burton since the first lap of the race. Now he's up to second all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think Lyman's going to let the top two here have at it at this course here because Lyman's got 3 laps in hand basically on Beatty and Burton, and maybe running out of
Well, there is no fuel left in the car as you've seen the slow roll in the initial trying to stick to the bottom there. There is a pit road procedure investigation underway between Monroe and Fryman, by the way. So they'll now get looked at by race control. CSIT and cybersecurity major Wyatt Burton to the lead.
Yeah, driver out of Trine University out to the front, Beatty to counter it back. Now, watch Lyman here very closely because you know he's not going to want to make a pass here after pitting on lap number 78. It's surprising though that he's not in the dirty air though, trying to use the draft to his advantage.
Try to go back and forth. For those who have never heard of Trine University, it's actually based in Angola and Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's a private university that has been around as far as 1884 and has some presence with facilities in Detroit, Phoenix, and in Virginia for different learning centers. It's a Division III school. And right now, doesn't matter what NCAA division you have, in CIL, you can be from anywhere and be able to race.
JUCO or NAIA levels, and you're welcome to join. So, but now look at this here. The field is all packed up together, and this could definitely help out the ones that pitted on lap number 78. So there's 6 cars on the lead lap, all in this pack with one driver a back marker here at the moment. Keep an eye on Hallinar in the 6th spot and Lyman in 5th. All stacked up with this pack. They're going to lift here in turns number 3 and 4 to help out with their economy.
There's the lift right there. 208 miles an hour coming out of the corners, by the way. We're usually around 213 for those pushing it. Some massive differences here coming to the roll.
At the same time, too, they didn't even lose ground to 3rd and 4th, Lyman and Burton racing for position, while they're letting Beatty and Fryman pull away. Now, if I'm Beatty in this spot, now keep in mind, these are the Ball State teammates. You're right on board with Hallinar. If I'm Beatty in this spot, I wonder if he and Fryman are talking about maybe flip-flopping, say, every 3-5 laps or so. It's kind of similar to what we saw back in the day when NASCAR had the 2-car tandems at the super speedways. That way that the pushing car wouldn't blow the motor. I wonder if they could be doing that with Beatty and Fryman. That way the pushy car doesn't run out of fuel.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be one of those situations. You need to be careful with the mileage now in this type of race. You're talking about Lyman, who's in a much tighter situation, meaning the caution flag. Everybody else, it's going to be very close when it comes to these windows. We're already past about an hour of racing, by the way. If it comes down to it, we only have 46 minutes on the clock. So, in our words, if we have a bunch of caution flags, we don't have the liberty to pace the entire race. But simply, you see with the stints here, though some of the drivers going to be a bit more aggressive, some of them not so much. Lyman staying in the choo-choo train. By the way, with all this, Beatty going back and forth with Fryman. Also, Monroe has ran away from the pack as a lap car.
This is where, if you're Monroe, you want a yellow to fly. Absolutely wanting a yellow to fly here at the moment. And so, hoping for a wreck amongst the field behind them. So now, if I'm Lyman here at the moment, follow Fryman, don't make a pass for the lead. Fryman taking advantage of his teammate Monroe. I may have confused that earlier, so apologies for that if that was the case. I wouldn't risk a pass for the lead if I'm Lyman. If I'm Fryman, maybe try and let him go. Help you out on the economy side too, possibly.
Maybe, just maybe. That, I think, has to be the thought. But it's not working out that way. Matthew Monroe, black flag either way. He just got one for that pit road situation. Drive through for unsafe pit procedure.
Look at this, though.
There he goes in front of Laters as they go side by side again.
How about Burton taking that 2-for-1 there, Justin, along with Skockson? I wonder if that Monroe penalty slowed up the top two just a little bit here. To that point, the strategy here possibly for Fryman may have backfired at this point. Actually, check that for one of the other Ball State drivers. May have backfired for him. That being Beatty. He's fallen all the way back to 7th here.
We're seeing a lot of communication. Some of the drivers are wondering, Wyatt, what's the situation like? They're asking each other even, what's your fuel like? What's your pace like? Lyman says trying to save and to try and limit how much he takes on the next stop he just told. Right now, some of the drivers are absolutely not in save mode. Cummings has said, you know what? I'm just going to try and take away.
Yeah, he has run away with this one. A 1-second gap on Skockson. He just basically said YOLO. He's gonna win, or he's gonna run out trying to win.
So some of the drivers are on the stretch strategy, Marty. Some of the drivers are on the definitely topping off late strategy. What do you feel is the better one and why?
I think right now at this point, with how long the stints have been that I expected, I think the saving grace here is the situation. Now, the benefit that Cummings could have to his advantage. Now, there's going to be a couple of things that he's going to have, obviously. Number one, he's got the entire bottom that he can use for Cummings. That's number one. Number two, keep in mind, these Indy cars have clutches in them as well. So he can use that clutch, cut off the engine for just a couple seconds, and maybe see if he can pick up some fuel. I don't know how many laps he is to go to the knot, but that clutch could definitely make a difference possibly.
Big speed difference. You see it right there. 6 seconds. Oh, my goodness. This is aggressive saving the running NASCAR speeds around here in Fontana all of a sudden.
Yeah, Hallinar, by the way, we've got to mention this. Hallinar just exited pit road. That way he could be good to go. Now, this is a risky decision here too, Justin, because he's already gone a lap down. He's about to go now a lap down to the drivers in second and third on back. So that may be risky. So he's going to have to hope that everyone else is forced to come down pit road or not. So Hallinar is playing the game. Cummings is playing the game on both of them, YOLOing it and risking it, hoping that their strategy doesn't backfire on them.
Definitely the play at that point is hope that everybody can try and not make it, or rather will not make it. Hallinar needs to gain at least 9 seconds to get up to Cummings, plus
it's just way too risky here. I just feel like it's way too risky at this moment for Cummings and Hallinar. But hey, I tell you what, they got guts trying to go for this win here. I'll tell you that. So I feel like right now, Burton's in the catbird seat at the moment. Yeah, Scoxon and Burton. Look at that, Brendan Lyman. He pitted on lap 78. I don't think even with him in the draft, he's going to have a chance to win this one. Meanwhile, the field just about single file off of turn number 4. So approaching 25 laps to go. And look at this for Jake Cummings. His gap is just about half a track. I don't know if we can pull up the map here on your screen. But this gap, this delta between him and second is insane. He's got lap times better by 2 seconds or so. There you see it. Cummings on the bottom right going into turn 1. Scoxon in second going into turn number 3. I'm wondering here, I'm going to ride on board here with Cummings. And I don't know if he's pushing in the clutch or not. I'm listening. Nope, he's going to go full throttle. So I think what Cummings is going to do, he's going to pit, top off on the minimum amount of fuel, just do a splash and dash, and see if he's got enough track time where he could stay in front possibly. I think that is the strategy off the 95. He's just going to push it to the limit, and it may work. It may fall completely on its rear. Whatever it is, this is a gutsy call here for Cummings, Justin.
It is a tough play where he's already jumped up half the racing track ahead of everybody else. Might very low lap some of these drivers at this rate. That's how big the gap is right now, coming around 24 laps to go. When we come to the stripe for a majority of the field, Cummings is coming up to 23. 20 laps or so into the fuel run this time through. Nobody willing to take the risk, obviously, in this pack. Cummings. How is Cummings going to play this when the errors get lapped by him is the question.
I think he just goes around the outside then, in my opinion. Or He's just going to have to slow up and just weave his way past. That's how I look at things. But imagine, though, here, if Cummings can go 2 for 2 to start off this season, it would be like Alex Polo levels. Takes the win last week out at Laguna Seca. Now a big chance to possibly win at Auto Club. And if he could do it on a gutsy, a risky call that not a lot of people thought was absolutely possible, oh my, he will basically have double the amount of chips in his hand.
You see where the difference is on the bubbles, where Cummings is at. You see he's almost catch up to the big blob. Hallinar, for reference, he is still 45 seconds back to the race leader. He is right now a ways back. Even with the potential pit stop from Cummings here, it's going to be tough to be able to close up the distance there. Here's something to consider too. The last pit stop situation Cummings had, remember he spun into the box. He's going to be looking, trying to avoid that this time, obviously. So as Monroe stays in front of this pack and as everyone else now picks up the speed a little bit with the roll. The mathematics continue to get worked on in the heads and the minds of these college students.
Should mention as well, they are catching as well the 44 Matthew Monroe, and so keep an eye on Beatty. He's rebounded up to the 3rd spot. If he can get past Fryman here for 2nd, that could help out the 20 a little bit. Just save off of the 44 here once again. Monroe doesn't have a chance at winning this race, but he does have a chance to help a teammate win a race, perhaps.
Yeah, let's take a look from Cummings now as he tries to get around this pack. Cummings, big difference, and already selecting to be a little patient, nearly ran over Lyman on the save.
Yeah, be careful, Jake. You've got a very good chance to win this race. It's got to come, though, after the pit stop, though. Keep that in mind, Jake. Don't get too aggressive now. Go past them. Justin, this may be a first for me on an oval with a green flag run where the entire field goes a lap down.
At this point, here's the thing. The net stop difference for a scheduled stop is about 40 seconds plus the access roads. So you're talking...
He could be like 8 seconds behind Fryman here, perhaps, if they were to stay the way they are. Now look at Fryman. He's pushing it now. He's trying to get a toe off the race leader. Fryman said it's time to go. Absolutely.
He is the only one trying to keep up with him. Everybody else is in the save. So not sure about Fryman's plan here. This is getting Fryman a huge gap over everybody else. If Fryman is good on fuel and feels he's good on fuel here, he might guarantee a 2nd spot out of this pack.
This is going to give Fryman a good finish with what he's doing, even if he has to make one more pit stop or not. So if we're looking at this properly, Cummings will be the first to come in. He's going to have about an 8-second buffer zone, about maybe 10 or so. Add probably some more to that because he's got to get the tires warmed up here on Jake Cummings, or excuse me, on Nate Fryman. But then when Fryman pits, Fryman will have to pit for less fuel compared to Cummings to make it to the checkered flag. Fryman may be in the catbird seat here with what he's doing. I like this call by the 23.
So right now that's built up a buffer of an extra 2 seconds at this moment, coming up to what is going to be for the leader 15 laps to go this upcoming time by. For Hallinar, by the way, for those curious, Hallinar's in a very, very, very bad spot. The 057 has lost 2 more seconds to Cummings here. So Hallinar's just not been on the pace here since the stop at all.
Yeah, Hallinar is it's just not working for him here at the finish line. I don't know what else to say at this point for the 57, but it's basically a must need a bunch of yellow situations.
Yeah, everybody's stuck at 200 miles an hour. They are still a little racy here. That is Lyman. No alignment situation. Nobody wants to be the lead car. I don't know what else you can really do to get to the back other than, hey, you know that brake pedal? Let's test it.
It's a clutch. Also, there's the clutch pedal too on the left if you got a 3-pedal set, or have the clutch paddle on the wheel as well, like I have at home too. But it's kind of like I did cross country as a kid in high school. We had this little drill called an Indian run, and it was where you would just jog. However, though, the person in the back of the line would have to sprint their way all the way up towards the front. This is basically the opposite of that.
Yeah, and it's to where Fryman, by the way, is 8 seconds ahead of these cars now.
Good grief.
What a play.
Now Fryman finished 4th last week at Laguna Seca. Just almost went a lap down on Cummins here in the end. I feel like here, as we're in the witching hour of this race, where there seems like there's going to be a pit stop left, Fryman's in the catbird seat here. He's able to lift better in the corners. And I'm hearing that Cummins is pitting this lap, Justin.
Here we go. No mistakes. Jake Cummins could very well win this race if he enters pit road smoothly. Here he goes.
Boy, going from 220 all the way down to 55 like that in 3 seconds. It's a very risky situation every time you come down pit road in a green flag run. Now, you can't be taking any tires here at the moment. It's got to be a fuel-only stop for Cummins. Uncheck it on your black box right now.
Let's keep an eye on this. It's going to be short fuel. He slid. I think he's still going to be able to take the fuel only, though. He is not on the jacks.
5.8. That's a better stop than what we thought we were going to see here, Justin, compared to a 4-tire stop where everyone was getting about maybe 9, 10 seconds or so. Here comes Fryman through the middle of 1 and 2, and so the 23 is now out in the front. Now it's Fryman's turn to hang on. Does he have 11 laps left in the tank? He's got to save. I don't know, did he save enough fuel in the draft? He may have to save some more fuel, but regardless of that, it is Cummins that can now push, and he's starting to creep that gap down. It's now at 1 second with 10 to go, Justin.
Here we go. Here's the thing. Fryman might have to very well sacrifice the lead for the fuel mileage.
I think so, too. I think this is the case. Cummins is powering closer towards him like Jaws.
Here he comes. Cummins, 221 down the back. It was in the 212s for Fryman. Watch as the Converse University driver picks up the pace. Cummins with the pull. Remember, old tires on the 95 as the heat cycle has a lot of wear. This is going to be a bit of an issue to pass with the aero wash.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't talked about making a pass on the outside in a very long while. Cummins just has to use his tools to his advantage and try and make the pass. And this is what I was talking about earlier on. The leader will defend with the bottom, but Fryman's got more important issues. Can he make it to the checkers on this economy run?
8 laps to go. Everybody else on the fuel strategy is out of the equation. They are 12 seconds back. Hallinar has passed all but Burton.
Yeah, give credit to Hallinar here, too, because he topped off on the fuel earlier on. And now he's kept it 100% power. Here goes Cummins once again. He only got up to the left rear tire, the right rear tire, and just couldn't make the pass work because, like you mentioned as well, Justin, the heat cycle.
See Hallinar on the bottom. He's already closing in Burton. There it is. Cummins to the lead. Cummins to the point. Jake Cummins takes it away from Fryman.
And now Fryman got to use the draft to your advantage and just hang in there. This is basically Fryman's last chance to win this race.
Fryman on full save.
Yeah, if I'm Fryman, I don't feel comfortable one bit passing him for the race lead. If I'm Cummins, let him go. Have him use his fuel. But if I'm Fryman, you're saving all you got for the white flag. I'm hearing other drivers are pitting here too, Justin. Lyman is pitting.
Passed by someone who also pit, Matthew Monroe, so more drivers having to get off their strategies. This is expected for the 78. Problem is, this will put him very likely 7th at best. He's already lost a ton of ground to the rest of the drivers. So right now, Jake Cummings, last season's championship runner-up, looking to try and hold on with the better economy, while Fryman looks to save with 5 to go. Fryman is pushing the tempo in the 220s here.
Yeah, but notice though at the same time, he's just touching the throttle through 1 and 2. Not even getting on that loud pedal until he exits the corner, and he's even bobbing it just a little bit, lifting just coasting to about maybe 50-75%, while still staying in that draft, using that air to his advantage. A 4-lap sprint to the finish, 10 miles. Give me check that, 8 miles remain here, Justin.
Battle for third is heating up as well, as those drivers have a difference. Hallinar is seeing Burton push the tempo too. Burton doesn't want to give up the podium. He wants a good points day. Hallinar having to work for it here.
And Fryman nearly thought about going for the race lead as well. The bottom right of your screen. When does Fryman make the slingshot? When does he make the push here? Now is the question. Time is running out of the hourglass. 3 laps left. Does Fryman feel comfortable with the number that's on the black box or the wheel? We'll have to find out. And look at this. More traffic being a factor here too.
A little bit of air wash coming up for these drivers here. 2.5 laps to go. Fryman yet to make a move. He could move to the bottom if he wants to, but again, it's close on the mileage. 42 laps in this time through.
That could have been something that Fryman could have used to his advantage with a lap car, because he would have still had the draft in any way, shape, or form, but now Cummings is going to use it to his advantage sort of now.
Yes, indeed, there's the pull for the speed. 226 this time. Fryman trying to let it roll. Now he slides up with the aero wash. Under 2 laps to go here from Fontana. Now they snake with the draft. Monroe goes left, right, everywhere. All while Fryman stays on the rear wing. Now he takes the lower angle, but pushes up again, coming to the white flag.
And now Cummings going to use this draft once again of Monroe. 2 miles remain here in Fontana. Cummings also trying to snake on Fryman. Fryman's got to cook. If he wants it, he's got to go get it.
Does Fryman find the run? Does Monroe move out of the way? Monroe stays to the bottom. That actually takes a passing opportunity away from Fryman. Now Cummings goes up the racetrack. Fryman tries to angle it down, tries to diamond, right to the rear wing of Cummings. To the inside goes Fryman. Now Fryman gets boxed in by the Ball State car. Monroe, as Cummings takes the checker flag. Fryman got boxed in by the lap car.
That's a rough deal for Fryman. Give him credit for how he did to save on fuel, staying right behind the 95 with a great finish. Yes, you're bummed you won't get the win, but if you're Fryman, you'll absolutely take a second place run, finishing on a 43-lap stint. Same for Wyatt Burton finishing third, but in the end, Jake Cummings, 2 for 2 to start the season.
Now here comes the question, what's that conversation going to be like on campus here? Because that was a Ball State driver blocking in a Ball State driver where it could have been for the win, and gives it to Converse University's Jake Cummings.
There will be discussions tomorrow. I think it's a late night, but then again, there's no such things as late nights in college. So, but I think there may be a discussion in the coming hours here of the night.
So in the end, Jake Cummings, the master when it comes to Fontana, elected to go full push mode, and it worked perfectly. He gets to stand in the old victory lane here in the iRacing scan. Let's take the look at the results tonight. Unofficial. Cummings over Fryman was 64 1,000ths at the very end. Then everybody else 10 seconds back. Hallinar's tires died off behind Wyatt Burden. Burden did make the distance. Everyone did make the distance who stretched on fuel, by the way. Those drivers, though, as far back as 17 seconds with Beatty and Scottson down in 5th and 6th. Lyman did pit, ended up a lap down in 7th with his call not working out. Matthew Monroe, after a penalty for his pit road excursions, finished in 8th. Voigt crashed. He did not bring out a caution flag. He ends up in 9th, and Turbakovic looked to be one of the favorites. Turbakovic ended up as a DNF in 10th.
Yeah, but these other drivers out of the race here. Garrett Greathouse in 11th had that very hard crash. Our race's lone yellow of the day. Barrett Wolf also involved, followed by Ryan Arnold in 3rd. Logan McKim had that penalty and then crashing the attenuator in 14th. Aiden Ray DQ'd in that lone caution flag. He finishes in 15th.
So top to bottom at the running order here tonight in this one as we wait for the drivers to make their way over to the broadcast booth. Marty, your thoughts on this one as it ended up being a fuel mileage race again?
I'll give a lot of drivers credit. We had a fuel mileage race. We only saw one driver make a pit stop in that economy run, 2 drivers. And in fact, those two drivers finished inside the top 5 with Witham in victory lane. The rest all, I don't know how in the world they went the distance on that economy run, stretching it all the way up to, what was it, like, if I'm doing my math correctly, 44 laps to the end. Incredible by all the drivers, and big congrats to Jake Cummings. Win number 2 of the season, and Justin, I think it's time to talk to some drivers.
Yes, indeed. Why don't we go 1, 2, 3? We're still waiting for some of the drivers, but we do have your race winner here tonight, Jake Cummings. We meet again. You get to victory lane here tonight. Talk us through that stretch as you chose to push, and it worked. It worked really well.
Yeah, that was the weirdest race I've ever definitely won, but definitely one of the weirder ones I've ever been a part in as well, because I mean, it ended up being close in the end, even though it did work really well. Nathaniel almost had me, though. But I wasn't planning on doing that. The only reason I decided to do that is because on my second to last pit stop, which was the last for a lot of people, I rear locked right into my pit box, and it cost me like 10 seconds out because I was sideways, and I had to like go forward, reverse, go back forward. So I thought I was done and just out of the pack, but then once everyone got situated and they were trying to save the same kind of fuel they were saving the first time, which proved to be a lot harder with so fewer cars on that strategy, I was looking at it and I was 2-3 seconds a lap faster at times. So I'm thinking, well, all right, I'm just gonna pull a Lightning McQueen here when I pull up on them and just go by the entire field and then drive away. And I did that twice, and then yeah, Nathaniel was smart to maybe ditch that strategy kind of the second time I came around. But yeah, it was just insane going from being 10 seconds behind the pack to catching them to putting a whole lap and a half on them even. And yeah, I just knew I had to have a cleaner pit stop the next time around. And yeah, it was interesting. It was spicy there at the end too, but we did just enough to hang on. So yeah, my first FC Oval win too, which is surprising. So, but yeah, that was crazy. What a lot of fun.
Indeed, and this, of course, obviously puts you as the championship favorite one last time out. You get a win here. How do you describe the championship momentum as you were last season's championship runner-up? You're looking to be the one to beat now.
Yeah, there was no beating the champion last season for sure, but I think I did about as good as I could have. So yeah, I actually don't know Miami at all. I need to learn that track. I think I got off the F1 games before that came around, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's nice to know that not only am I really competitive at the road and street courses, but also on the ovals. This was my first FC Oval win, but I think I've always been there as long as I haven't been wrecked at the end. So this time the strategy has played out to me. It was kind of like God just kind of threw a mistake in my hands to be like, everything happens for a reason. You're going to win because of this. So yeah, that's definitely clippable. But yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season. It should be fun, especially with the full-length Indy 500 and going to so many fun road and street courses especially. I'm really looking forward to it.
I was going to ask you about the next race, but you already went to full depth on that. Let me ask you this to expand into yourself a little bit here for the last question then. You've built up a reputation. The sim side have competed, of course, in PRI competitions. We've seen you pop up in SRO races. We've seen you now make connections with some of the teams that race in SRO. How would you describe your rise now as you've worked in, now as a master's student, into the sim racing community, in racing in general?
Oh, man, that's an awesome can of worms to open, and not one I honestly expected, but I guess it makes sense coming from the Justin Prince. Honestly, I was just doing like console gaming for the longest time, and I saw iRacing, and I was thinking to myself, I have a job now, I can afford this, and it was expensive, and I didn't like that in my bank account, but it's the best decision you can make. Anyone out there who doesn't have it, who's like, I don't know if I want to get it, it looks like fun, but it's expensive to get into, just get it, because there's so many opportunities for young sim racing talents out there, and like with SRO and the PRI sim racing arena, which is so awesome. Back in December, one of the coolest trips I've ever gotten to do, and then was even able to bring a trophy home from that, which is, it's on my dresser right now, looking at it. So, but even then, still, like you mentioned, being able to form that partnership with Tech Sport Racing, and kind of we're starting to formulate how to work out getting the sim racing talents into real race seats. We already did one test. We're gonna have another one here in a month or two, and yeah, it's a long process, but it's super cool, because I just go back to 12-year-old me so long ago, just wanting to be a race car driver, and just spending, it'll be 2 a.m. I'll be on my laptop on my bed in the middle of the night. I'm supposed to be sleeping for school the next day, but I'm just looking up on Google, how do I become a race car driver? And I always had a hope, but it was becoming more of a dream as I went on. And once I got to iRacing, I never really thought there was any avenue for it. But things present themselves. It's been really awesome. iRacing is just such an awesome platform for sim racers, even if it's not something that leads to racing in real life. But yeah, we have some really awesome opportunities and things in the works. So it's just awesome, and being able to represent my school, obviously in my last semester, my master's program actually is just some icing on the cake for some extra representation for such an awesome league.
Well, on that note, anyone else you want to give a shout out to before we let you get back to you and, I believe, the Giga Lads, as you call it?
Yeah, that's a bit of a throwback when I was looking for groups and stuff come some years ago. Definitely want to shout out my wife, who puts up with me taking several evenings off per week to go race pretend cars on the internet instead of spending time with her, which I'll go do after this. But yeah, big thanks to her and all the support she gives me, and of course my family, and new sponsors for Converse Esports this semester. We're trying to save the program, or it might be going under after I leave, unfortunately, due to budget cuts. But we have both Monster Energy and TeamSpeak on the car for this season, which is awesome to form such high-level partnerships at the collegiate level with them. So shout out to them for supporting the Converse Esports program, and shout out to you guys, because it was honestly a bit of a boring race at first, just kind of hanging out, but it got really interesting towards the end. So maybe, hopefully, it wasn't too hard to sit through. But thanks to you guys for all the work you do, of course.
Congratulations once again, Jake, on the victory here tonight.
Thank you.
Jake Cummings, very in-depth and very detailed in his answers here tonight for the win and the fun of the Sun 250. We do have Nathaniel Fryman standing by. Lot to talk about with him. He finishes second. He's with Marty.
Nathaniel, a great run, and man, I don't know how you were able to stretch it out there to the end. Take me through the strategy right when you saw Cummings lapping you, and then deciding, you know what, let's change it up a little bit, and then we'll just follow the leader.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I had enough to make it to the end, but when I was talking with my teammates in our VC, we were like, we can't let him get like a lap and a half or even like a second ahead of us, or else he's going to stay out front after he pits. And so I was like, well, my fuel mileage is looking green right now, so might as well just try and keep up with him and try and save in his draft, and it worked somehow.
And then take me through what you were trying to do and make that pass on Cummings for the win. When did you know that you had enough and then it was time to go?
So, I mean, I had about 0.2 laps to the good with like 2 laps to go. And then for the last 2 laps, and so once I got the white flag, I knew pop it into fuel map 1. Let's try and go win this thing. And it was just unfortunate that there was some lap traffic in the way at the end when I tried to get a run on him.
So I just want to confirm you weren't on the richest mode throughout that run. You were running where you were on map 2 or map 3.
I was map 5 for that entire last stint, and then when I probably did a lap in map 5 behind Jake when we went from the pack, and then I was map 4 for everything until the end.
Well, regardless though, heck of a run. Who do you want to give shout outs to before we let you go?
Shout out Ball State University for giving me a great team to work with. Shout out Dylan and Matthew for doing great tonight, and yeah.
Well, congrats on the 2nd place finish, a great run, and all the best next week and down the road.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
You as well. Nathaniel Fryman in 2nd, and we'll round out the podium here with the Trine student Wyatt Burton rounding out the podium. He's with Justin.
Yes, indeed. Wyatt, let's talk things through about that. What was your thoughts on that strategy? A wild one, to say the least.
Yeah, I was just trying to survive. I was really surprised that Jake had the idea to go flat out the rest of the race and actually put a lap on us. I think if that did not happen, we were going to have a shootout to the end there, but I think I managed to save a little bit more than the guys that I was running in a pack with, and I was able to lower my fuel mixture and burn away from them there at the end.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of the racing itself here tonight, what was kind of the thought process on that? Because in some series, we've seen people break away in the small packs. That breakaway, much of this event never seemed to happen.
Yeah, I think everyone was just being very cautious considering this season we got rid of our one faster pair that we have on ovals. At least that was in my mind. I just kind of, I started in 3rd. I just wanted to lead a lap, try and get that extra point in the championship, and then I was just fine with falling back, saving as much as I can, and making my last stop as short as possible if we did have a shootout to the end.
So next time out, we have a different racetrack. It's a new one for iRacing. It's Miami. How do you feel about racing around Hard Rock Stadium?
I'm looking forward to it. I do not own the track, so I will have to buy it before next Thursday. So it'll be a new experience, and I'm not sure what to expect, but we'll give it everything I got.
Any shout you'd like to give here tonight?
I'm going to give a shout out to my parents for always supporting me.
Well, congratulations on the run here tonight. Congrats on the podium.
Thank you, guys.
Wyatt Burton gets the chance to finish on the podium. Is able to hold off Alex Hallenor for that spot. Like thank the entire top 3 for Speak was during post-race coverage here on Green Flag TV. As Marty has stepped away, it's just about time to close things out tonight. Stay tuned after the post-race right now, right here, because the Speed Cup is underway. The Daytona Duels are in the closing stages. Let's go over to them and see how things are going at Daytona. But remember, we'll be in Miami for the Beach Party Grand Prix next week. We'll hope to see you then. But it's time to see some stock cars at the World Center of Racing. Let's head over to Daytona.